Welcome back. The CMT 344 laps complete. Ricky Craven still leads. And watch this. Wally Dowden back there in the 46. Lake Speed, Bodine, Bill Elliott, Geoff Bodine. They've been beating and banging on each other for the last handful of laps. That's for 6th through 11th position.
Eli, Wally Dowden back is running like a kite without a tail on it, and a heavy wind. The back end of that car is all over the place. But I tell you what, he's young, he's ambitious. He hadn't backed off a little bit yet.
It's a brand new car Dallenbach is in, and he's doing a good job of keeping it up in front of this group. This has sort of been like a street fight out here with this collection of cars. And Earnhardt, you just saw a little bit of him. He's on his way into that mess. There's Earnhardt. Top of your screen, now on the left of your screen.
13 spot for Dale in the number 3. Want to see what we were talking about a few minutes ago? Wally Dallenbach and those guys beating and banging off each other. Take a look at this, and you'll get an idea of what's been going on. Ian Schrader right there.
Well, he's sideways there.
Yeah. Rick Mast.
This is Rick Mast in the 75. You see Geoff Bodine in the 7 coming up there. They've been at it for a long time. I mean, it's been a crash festival.
There goes Earnhardt around Bill Elliott. And staying there now. And Mark Martin's going to follow right through as well as you ride with the Valvoline team.
Same car Earnhardt had here in July. It's a drop snout car that's a very different kind of chassis construction than Earnhardt is used to. He does not like a loose-feeling car. This one gives the feeling of being loose. Larry Reynolds has tried to inspire in him the confidence. Don't worry about it. Just hang on to it. It'll be all right. So far, so good.
Michael Waltrip is in 11th, just ahead of him. Then Wally in 10th.
Second here 3 times, twice in Winston Cup competition, once in Grand National competition.
Yeah, that great race with he and Joe Nimitz.
That was something. Could have taken him out. Could have taken Nemechek out and didn't. He was an absolute gentleman. Nemechek won the race. Earnhardt was second.
I talked to Richard Childress just before the race today, and he says, you make 75 laps without problems, we have the car to beat. Real quick.
Meanwhile, for the last 45 laps, Ricky Craven has been the race leader. Here goes Mark Martin. Here comes the battle for the lead. Remember, we're showing you how Bobby Hamilton was closing in. To realize what this day means to Ricky Craven, understand this, that in the previous 7 races this year that he has led, Craven had led a grand total of 49 laps in all of those 7 races. He's already at that same number here today as Earnhardt and Martin go by Michael Waltrip. So Michael goes from 10th to 12th in that quick exchange. Here's Bobby Hamilton, who has 16 straight finishes now of 17th or worse. Let's see there. There's Brett Bodine going a lap down. Interesting there because Brett started in 3rd, Matt Yoakum, and all of a sudden in the span of 50 laps, he's a lap down.
Eli, he was dropped all the way outside of the top 30. Last night in happy hour, he was a little bit loose. They changed the sway bar and a few other minor chassis adjustments, hoping that that will tighten him up. Obviously, it hasn't, and he's dropped a lap down. An interesting story about this car, though. We talked about the heritage of the 88 car. This car was actually for sale, had a for sale sign on it earlier in the year. They decided, hey, let's make this an R&D car. They cut off the snout, put a low snout, a drop snout on this, which helps you turn in the corner better. They said, let's try a few things on this car while it's a Thunderbird, because we don't want to do it when it's a new Taurus, because if it doesn't work, we've got to cut it all up. So they're using the rest of this season as an experimentation with a lot of different chassis points and measurements, because they've got about 8 races left to go, and use that as an R&D session.
Meanwhile, there's Ricky Craven up front. Told you the 8th time he is leading this year, 8th different event. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what happened to Dale Jarrett and Wally Dallenbach on the backstretch. Ba-boom. And a ba-boom to you.
Well, Dallenbach has had people at his door all day long. Whether he used or not.
There you see Sterling Marlin in the 4. He is about to go a lap down. Sterling running in 38th position, being bypassed by the race leaders. Richard Childress looking on. His man's in the top 10 now. On the the speedway. We'll show you why Geoff Bodine spun. But right now, let's go down to the Jeff Burton pit. Glenn Jarrett.
And it looks like that Todd Bodine will get in the car. They have, yes, they've drugged Geoff back. They just pulled him right out there, almost threw him down. Bodine is in the car now. We thought they were going to wait until the next time by so they'd have more room, but they're making a change right now. They're strapping Todd in the car. We'll get a word with Geoff in a moment. He looks to be okay, but I think they're just not going to take any chances, Eli. They just want to make sure that nothing worse happens to Geoff Burton.
Now, this is not the first time that Todd Bodine has driven here in a NASCAR Winston Cup car. Remember when the number 75 ride was his? He drove in both 1994 and 1995. In 94, he finished 5th after starting 15th. He didn't have quite as good a year with a 36th place finish in 95 with a mechanical problem. But this is not the maiden voyage in a Winston Cup car for Bodine, for Todd Bodine, here at this racetrack.
Well, Todd drove for Ricky Craven in Texas and was leading the race there and had right near the end of the race, got involved in an accident, but did a great job all day.
Now let's go to Steve Burns.
And Ricky Craven has been in for service, Eli. They changed 4 tires. Now this caution actually happened at a good time for them because Ricky had complained of being very loose. He was having some rubber buildup. Also, Dale Earnhardt had started 30th. He worked his way up to 7th. They took 4 tires as well. Let's go to Matt Yocum.
Bad luck for Kenny Schrader. He came in the lap before the caution came out. He got caught on pit road. He's about a lap down. He could not hold on to the car any longer. They came in, made a 2-tire pit stop, and tried to tighten him up big time with some major chassis adjustments. Also, great pit work by the STP crew. They got Bobby Hamilton out on a 4-tire pit stop. They put him out into the lead. Now let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
And we're standing by with Geoff Burton. And Geoff, great job out there. Main question is how you feel.
Well, I don't feel real good, but Geoff is in the lead lap. I'm only about 50%. Todd can do a way better job than I can do. So owe it to the Sexside team to let somebody get in there that can drive it.
Still pretty tough to crawl out of your car, though.
Yeah, it is, but you know, this is a team deal, and there's times in this deal where you got to give up something you want to do to help the overall deal, and that's what we're going to do.
He did a great job. I think he did far more than anybody thought. You could hear the emotion in his voice. He did not want to have to get out of that race car, but he knew it was the best thing.
So he goes 68 laps. Now, why are we under caution? Let's take you back to lap number 67, Dick Bergman.
Well, here we go. Geoff Bodine ahead of the number 24 of Jeff Gordon. And here we go.
Looks to me like Geoff had a little more acceleration than the 7 car of Bodine as they started off the corner. Bodine goes around very lucky he didn't get hit by other cars going by.
Nor did he make contact with the wall. Geoff Bodine was able to continue, but at that very second, Ken Schrader had already made his pit stop, and because of that, Kenny is a lap down now in 35th position. The Kingsman is currently on top. They come out of turn number 4.
The cars on the inside there are a lap down. If you're wondering who's the lap down, the guys on the inside of the racetrack there are a full lap behind now.
Kenny Schrader on the tail end of the lead lap. Once everybody made their stops. Let's see if he stays there or if Bobby Hamilton will again put him a lap down.
Hamilton has done such a nice job today, but he's done a nice job at the beginning of a lot of events, and what they have really got to do today is do this good work all day long, still be there at the end of the race, running as well as they're running now. No driver announced yet for that car. In fact, they don't even have some guys that they like to put in a short list yet, so if you're a great race driver and want to go Winston Cup, just call Richard Petty.
Get that resume in.
Don't look at me. I don't want it. The 94 there, Bill Elliott, has moved up into 3rd place. You know, for the last little bit, these guys have really turned it around, Dick. And Mike Beam and all of them, you know, you just hit it right on the head. They've always had great motors, but now their chassis is really in the ball game, and they're back where Bill used to be.
No, he had, what, 6 top 10s in the last 7 races before that disappointment in Richmond, where he finished 30th. But he had the pole and led the most laps at Darlington. So, yeah, here in this last segment of races, outside of Richmond, things got awfully well for Bill.
Look at Ricky Craven take the lead back. He has this car hooked up. He has to be very, very proud because, as we have said, He's had a pretty dismal second half of the season, but right now he's out front in front of his native people here, and he's very, very happy.
This racetrack has a program of championship drivers, and Ricky Craven was the very first champion the Hampshire International Speedway ever had back in 1990. And he is a local boy. In Concord for a while, which is right down the street from the Speedway. They all know him in this grandstand.
Now you heard the fans react when he took the lead moments ago. Just one caution if you're tuning in along the way. Nobody in the garage area as of yet. One driver change. Todd Bodine is in for the ailing Geoff Burton. Otherwise, it is as they started back at 12:45 Eastern Time today.
Ernie Irvin in the 28. Steady on the move. Geoff Bodine just in front of him. Ernie's had a fast car all day long. He started way back, but he has picked them off one by one. He'll be up near the front in just a few seconds. The way this car is running around this racetrack.
Ernie's in ninth now, Glenn.
Yeah, when they pitted that time, they made a couple of air pressure adjustments and a couple of rounds of adjustment on the rear track bar. The car was a little tight, as we told you earlier on. I tell you what, if it was tight, he was running like he was. If they ever get that thing right, the rest of the guys might as well pack up and go home. That is a rocket ship.
Was Ernie a winner here a year ago?
He's got an interesting race strategy. He says it can all boil down to just this one thing. How much time you on the gas. So his strategy about going into the turns is, if he's with somebody else, if it's a side-by-side deal, whenever the other guy backs off, Ernie backs off a little bit later.
Here's Bobby Hamilton now.
Back and forth they go.
He's got the lead from Ricky Craven, makes him going into the corner at lap number 81. So 78, 79, and 80 led by Ricky Craven. And Bobby Hamilton puts the SPP Pontiac back in front of lap number 81. Right behind the front three, actually the front two, you see Rick Mance there at the 75. John Andretti just ahead of him. Bill Elliott, Mark Martin. I'll tell you, Rick Mance, got to be tickled for him, Matt. Best qualifying effort of the year, and he's hanging right there in the top 5.
They set out a goal earlier today, Eli. They wanted to do much better than they did last time they were here. They finished 28th. They said today could be a really good run for us. He's running great now. The car was a tad tight off the corner, so they loosened him up just a little bit. And also about Bill Elliott, he's having a great run too. He only took on 2 tires for track position. He was also a tad tight. They loosened him up. 3 rounds down on the track bar, and he was out, and they are both having stellar runs today.
Rick Mance, the best finish he had had this year was 12th at Dover back in June. He is now doing awfully well today. How about old Earnhardt right there? He and Geoff Gordon. Before I open up my mouth about Earnhardt, he loses a couple of spots.
He's moved up to 7th. You see him just behind Ernie Irvin there in the 3. He's doing a great job today, though. And I think he has the car set up for long runs. It looks that way. Right at first, a lot of these cars that run really well will drop back. Earnhardt set up for long runs, I think.
Dale was 7th until I opened my mouth. He's now 9th. Up front, Bobby Hamilton and Ricky Craven swapping around the lead. There you see the separation between the two. Pontiac has now led in 15 of the races here in 1997. We're coming right back.